Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? Really like that. You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network on a terrifically loaded Tuesday evening. It was an interesting day, to say the least. I woke up this morning knowing that at some point this afternoon, I would be making my way from Northeast Georgia, Northeast Atlanta, over to Northwest Atlanta. I'd be fighting the 285 traffic. I'd be finding the back roads at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to make my way over there to Milton High School in time to watch CJ Wiley's commitment announcement. I don't go to a ton of these, to be honest with you, anymore, but I do go when I'm specifically asked by the athlete. So for some reason, if you want me to show up to your commitment announcement, just ask. I'll probably come. CJ reached out about a week ago after he made the announcement that he's got a date selected and all that stuff, reached out on Twitter and said, hey, want you there at the commitment ceremony? I said, all right, we'll be there. We'll make sure we're there. And I don't do hat science. I really don't. But what I do every once in a while is media science, which is I show up to these commitment ceremonies, and if there's just kind of one beat there, I kind of know where he's going and or think I know where he's going. CJ Wiley's commitment announcement today wasn't nothing but dog reporters in the house. Not a single one. Not Alex Benson from Born to Compete, which hosted the event, 11 Live, all that good stuff. Shows no allegiances, shows no doesn't work for one or cover one specific beat. He's just there. He's a recruiting analyst type of vibe. But the rest of us, we're all there assuming that he was going to the University of Georgia. He ain't. Not as of today. Today he committed to Florida State. And I want to start with this first and foremost. CJ Wiley is not the first prospect this weekend, or this week rather, that Georgia felt good about, or at least positively about, only to find out that player was committing elsewhere. Kevin Wynn was the other one. Kevin Wynn, the defensive tackle, kind of slid in this week and committed to Florida State, and everybody was like, oh, Kevin Wynn's going to Florida State. Bro, Kevin Wynn silently committed to Georgia like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Whenever his official visit was, he told Georgia, I'm coming. The only reason I know that is because Georgia told me they thought he was coming. And then this week, Kevin Wynn pops a commitment to Florida State. The 24, 48 hours after being up there on an official visit. And now we find out today that CJ Wiley is going to Florida State as well. And I think I want to start first and foremost with Mike Norvell must have done something really, really good this past weekend. Okay. And I think credit has to be established and given first and foremost, because they did things a little different down there at Florida State this summer. All right. Everybody loads up those first couple weekends. Florida State was like, hey, we'll wait. We'll wait till the last weekend of OVs before the dead period, before July hits, and we'll try to get last call. We'll try to get last talk with all these individuals. And I'll be honest, when CJ Wiley announced 10 days ago, 15 days ago, my commitment date is set for June 25th. When I heard him make that announcement, I mentally marked off Florida State. And here's why. Here was my thought process. How would you know you're ready to make a commitment announcement if you haven't taken that OV? I thought, Georgia, LSU, we'll see what happens. And to be honest with you, that's what the rest of the industry thought. I saw so many faces in that commitment announcement room today that were like, oh shit, I got to go write a story. I got to go write a story that I did not pre-write. I pre-wrote an LSU story. I pre-wrote a Georgia story. I did not pre-write a Florida State story. I didn't. I'll be 100% honest with you. Today was 1,000% a shock to me. And as the title shows you, a shock to the recruiting industry as a whole. I don't think anybody had this. In fact, I don't think Florida State knew about this. And the reason I know this is because not only did CJ Wiley tell us that, Mike Norvell was ecstatic on the phone, on FaceTime right afterwards. Now, I'm sure he shows a lot of juice when everybody commits, but this was a little bit different. This was like, what? Word? Us? Awesome. Let's go. That kind of deal. So I want to give Norvell credit first and foremost. Somebody hopped in my mentions today, a Florida State fan, basically alluding to this point, saying, you got to give this dude some credit for holding his bullets in the chamber until the last weekend of official visits. And it seems like that's exactly what they did. I want to address some things because I know specifically from the Georgia side of things, I don't know how LSU fans feel. I don't know all that good stuff. I know how my mentions reacted. I know how my message boards reacted, all that good stuff. Where was I going with this? I hate when I freelance sometimes because it just goes right on me. Oh, the room. Why it was awkward. All right, he makes his commitment announcement, and I think the room thought he was going to do the old Florida State, psych, I'm a dog. I thought everyone thought that was happening, and that's why you saw during the commitment announcement, it was like the room's quiet, nobody applauds, and then the applause comes, because I don't think anybody in the room thought that was going to happen. Thought the other thing that was often commented about from different fans was that the family didn't necessarily seem happy. I know a lot of people do that family science thing. Does mom look happy? Does dad look happy? Mom and dad didn't know. Mom and dad, according to both CJ and his parents, I talked to his dad right after the commitment. I said, this is the biggest surprise I've had in the industry probably since Eric Gilbert. Honest to God. I show up to the College Football Hall of Fame when Eric Gilbert's getting his Player of the Year award, and he's about to make his college commitment, and I don't know if it's Georgia, I don't know if it's Alabama, I don't know if it's LSU, and we write all three. We write all three, and then we sit in the back and we wait for it to happen. It very, very much so felt like that, in the sense that it was a complete shock and a complete unknown going into it. Milton coaches had no idea. Parents had no idea. College football coaches that I spoke to in this recruitment had no idea where this one was going. I think that's such a rarity in today's day and age of college football recruiting. So that's kind of where it was and why the room was that way. He spoke about, Florida State being in the mix for him very, very early on. I think a lot of people, not ESPN, but a lot of people have just kind of found CJ Wiley, and CJ Wiley's recruitment has just kind of over the last, I'd say 16 months, really exploded into this. So you could imagine allegiances and importance and investment from a football coaching staff prior to you becoming this super commodity would probably play well with Wiley. Guys, I don't know how rare it is for you guys to hear something like this, but the fact that mom and dad not only had very little to do with it, but had absolutely no idea and wanted it that way, I think that comes as a bit of a shock to me, and obviously came as a shock to everybody in the room. Norvell, just hats off. You got to tip your cap to him. They did a tremendous job in this recruitment.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like the entire time throughout his recruitment that it was kind of hard to get a read on where he was going to go, get a read on him in general. And so it kind of feels consistent, and it coincides with everything about this recruitment of nobody knew, and he goes to Florida State. So kind of just stayed true, kept it to himself. So I think it's a very unique recruitment. But if you want to if you really want it to truly be your decision, then I think it's a good way to do it.
Yeah, and also props to Mike Norvell and Florida State for kind of staying under the radar on this. Like you said, no one really ever saw Florida State coming until the very end. So the fact that they were able to pull this off is really huge for their program and huge for momentum in their class moving forward.
Absolutely. We'll talk about it from a Georgia perspective, what the loss means, whether this is over, what's next, all that good stuff. We'll talk about that in the local hour. I do want to take a quick moment to talk about this loss from an LSU standpoint, assuming that they don't get back into this, right? Assuming that they don't flip him. I think that was also worth noting that, I had to ask, are you locked in? And we'll play the interview in a little bit in the local hour for Georgia folks, but or for whoever sticks around. I asked him straight up, is this 100% locked down, not going anywhere? And his answer was essentially, I didn't sign any paperwork today. I just made my verbal commitment to Florida State. I did not sign any national letter of intent. And my recruitment, I believe his direct words were, my recruitment is still 100% open.
Yep.
That's what he said. So And this was kind of lobbed up to our Discord channel, patreon.com/BrooksAustin. It was kind of thrown up to us or in our chat of, hey, if this kid said this after committing to Georgia, how would you feel? And we have Florida State fans in the chat today. Thank you for being here. I'm curious how they feel about this. The fact that, yes, you won today. You absolutely won today. But he didn't exactly make you feel sweet about it during his interview process. So that kind of would stick out to me if I were a Florida State fan. And some of them have hopped in the mention saying, hey, we've been here before. This was KJ Bolden all over again. We gotta wait until signing day. There's some cautious optimism a little bit from Florida State fans, but you can't get over the win, I would imagine, at first.
Yeah, I mean, the win alone, you just got to kind of ride that out, and you have to hope that that verbal commitment sticks. But I mean, you always have to take every single verbal commitment with a grain of salt. You don't know what could happen between. I mean, we say it all the time. It's a long way between June and December. It's early December, so it's a little closer than normal. But there's an entire football season to be played. There's a lot of things to wait and see about how these football programs are going to traject in this next season that play a role in this.
Yeah, if you're a Florida State fan, you're obviously excited because I don't think even Florida State fans really expected them to be this much in the mix as they were. Now, he's committed to you. Whether you have him on signing day or not is a whole different story. But as far as today, you feel great. You might not feel as great come December just because of, the thought of this might be another KJ Bolden situation. I think that's going to kind of linger in people's minds.
All right, so from an LSU standpoint here, I was talking to another SEC coach on the trail about this. We were talking about CJ Wiley. We were talking about LSU getting in the mix. Now, he's a legacy there, so it makes sense. Dad was defensive tackle there, was an NFL draft pick out of that university. Mom played there, so you're going to get into this involvement no matter what. But my question for Cortez Hankton is, I get CJ Wiley, but there are some other out-of-state recruitments. Like, he's heavily involved in some Texas recruitments. He's heavily involved in some Florida recruitments. And I just wonder why, you're Cortez Hankton, you're from the state of Louisiana. Why are you even bothering with this stuff? Why aren't you just in Louisiana signing every great wide receiver there? Because LSU's history tells us if they come from that state and play for the Tigers, they're going to be really, really freaking good. So it's not as big of a loss, but it is because it's a legacy, and you diverted attention away from your state to come out here and play around with the kid that ends up going to Florida State in a verbal commitment. So it's a big loss from Georgia's perspective. You lose an in-state guy, but it could be framed as a similar loss from LSU's perspective of you spent a ton of time out of your state recruiting this kid over the last cycle.
Yeah, it's a loss all the way around if you're not Florida State here, just because obviously Wiley's a legacy and Georgia's an in-state kid. So, I mean, there's a lot to lose in that. I think it's one of those things where we had to risk taking that loss, though. Like a legacy player and an in-state wide receiver, you have to go out and extend yourself at the very least. Now, it's a bad look that you don't land him. And again, you might be able to flip him come December, but right now it is a bad loss, but it's a risk you have to take.
I think sometimes we just see these college football programs kind of put themselves at risk of taking this loss and exposing themselves of this is who we're honing in on, this is who we're going after. And if we strike out on this one, we're kind of just running and scrapping for anything else that we can find. And I think that you've kind of seen that over the years. Georgia has done this a couple times where it's this is who they want. If they don't get them, there's not really a plan B set in place here. And I think that you have to be comfortable with that risk, and you just have to kind of take the losses that come with it.
Certainly a loss. Certainly not over at all. The one kind of, and we'll readdress this in the local hour. The one kind of sentiment that was relayed to me from Georgia, not necessarily LSU, because I haven't asked them about this. I don't think Georgia's made their final push. That makes any sense?
Yeah.
I think there's still some negotiating to be done. I think there's still some talks to be had. And I also think, based off talking to CJ today, that he's going to be very open to those discussions. I don't think there's going to be any, hey, closed it off. Now, it does remind me of Avery Gilbert. It does remind me of Travis Hunter. It does remind me of Caleb Downs. It almost reminds me of Nyland Green, except we had the inside scoop on the Nyland Green stuff because we shot the commitment video. But it's so rare nowadays where we go into one of these announcements and we really don't know. I feel like nowadays we almost we almost spoil these kids' decisions and the anticipation for them because of all the interviews that they do and all the information and all the intel that we put out on patreon.com/BrooksAustin and all the stuff we put on the boards over there at 24/7. Where wherever you read your intel, some of this anticipation has been lost. Some of the forecasting is not even forecasting anymore. It's like publicly announcing the commitment for the kid, it feels like at times. But I do think there is a certain level of nostalgia. I think there's a certain level of this is the right way it should be done, in my opinion, where I show up, I didn't like driving 2 hours over there and 2.5 hours coming back in traffic, but I'm okay with it because the kid got to have his moment. And I got to have the moment of, holy shit, that just happened. That's fun. That's fun. That is new to me, or at least relatively new in the sense that we haven't had this happen in, I think, 2 years. The Caleb Downs high school commitment was like this, where you show up. Is it Georgia? Is it Alabama? Is it Notre Dame? Notre Dame was in the mix on that. I think a lot of people forget. So yeah, I mean, it's just very rare we go into a situation and we don't know like this one today. So hats off again to Mike Norvell. Hats off to you guys for being here today for a loaded show. We do have a great one for you. We're going to be talking about the underrated games that could shape the playoff. We're going to be talking about the toughest places to play. That was the EA Sports little reveal today. Too many people getting angry about that. I think we need to talk about that a little bit tonight. Your boy's going to be fighting off every sneeze possible during today's broadcast. We're also going to be talking about the teams with the most wins during the college football era. And we'll also, most importantly, be doing our SEC win totals projections today on the show. Thank you for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribing, rate, reviewing, all that good stuff. I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks before I address these super subs over in the chat. PrizePicks.com. Use promo code Brooks, you'll get a 100% deposit match. What does that mean? You put up to $100, you get instantly matched with $100 right there on the spot. All right. Here's a Patreon sub. Quick. This comes from Bennett Spear. Quick question. Thoughts on folks immediately jumping to, oh, they dropped a bag and so on. Now, I was going to save this. This is in the show notes. My biggest pet peeve for the local hour. I know probably more than anybody, like a lot of people, I know what the game is nowadays. I understand that name, image, and likeness has become a major factor in the recruiting industry. We all know this. Okay, so much so that one site has built an entire database backlog on how much 17-year-old kids are asking for. It's that big of a deal. We all know this. However, my biggest pet peeve nowadays is every single time. And it ain't that often. You don't lose many of these, Georgia fans. I'm talking to you. Every single time you lose a recruit or you lose a recruiting battle, the first thing you run to Twitter and say, must have been a bag. Maybe. But how about must have been a loss? Like, you just took an L on this one. And just because you took an L June 25th doesn't mean you're going to take an L December 3rd. But we label kids, that's a direct shot at that kid when that kid makes the biggest decision of his life. Must have been about money. Also, I'm calling horse shit on everybody who's ever done that, because let me show up at your job tomorrow after offer you a 20% raise and watch how quick you walk out of that sumbitch. Watch. Okay, every single one of y'all that do that, y'all throw it with this like disdain towards the decision or disdain towards the idea that someone might be chasing a little bit more of a financial, influential place or better place financially, knowing good and goddamn well you do the same exact thing. All right, it irks me when y'all do this to 17-year-old kids when you should open your show and open your tweet with, hey, Florida State, Mike Norvell must have done something pretty impressive this past weekend on his official visits, and those kids must have really fell in love with Florida State because now he's a Seminole verbally. So yeah, I understand. I do get it. But y'all did this to KJ Bolden, and then Georgia ended up signing him. So did you throw a bag at him, or was that just really good recruiting? Really? Sorry.
You hit the point that I was going to make too of like, you don't do it when Georgia gets commits, or like nobody does it when their own school is getting the commits. It's only when someone goes elsewhere. So like it's just funny. You're being a hypocrite.
Yeah, I mean, it's done to undermine the fact that you just took a loss. Like, oh, the only reason why we didn't land this recruit was because, one, he doesn't want to come to our school. He's scared of competition. He's scared of this. And the other one was, oh, he got paid an exorbitant amount of money. Of course he went there. The school that he went to didn't actually recruit him like ours does. So it's a coping mechanism.
Also, not to do this, but dad played 6 years in the league. Sure, they're not hurting.
No, they're probably doing okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they're fine. You know what I mean? So it bothers me. It really, really does.
Yeah.
On to the next one. Joshua Armstrong says, what do you think UGA struggles? Why do you think UGA struggles to sign big name 5-star receivers? Is it the offensive system? Is it the lack of high NL contracts to wide receivers? You can address it in the local hour. P.S. Donate the $20 to the Patreon fam. Joshua Armstrong, one of those showed up late, but is like one of the most adamant fans of what we do nowadays. So Joshua Armstrong, thank you very much for your recent support. I recognize this in a lot of the people that find us. They're like, oh my God, I wish I would have found this years before, both visually and over on patreon.com /Brooks Austin. So we greatly appreciate that. I think it's a combination of things, and none of them are really true, if that makes sense. And here's what I mean. I think Georgia gets anti-recruited about the tight end success. And I think that's stupid. I think CJ even said himself, or maybe it was Travis, if I had Brock Bowers, he'd be getting the ball. I think they get knocked because under Kirby's first 5 or 6 years, they were a run-heavy based offense. Well, I can justify that too, because if I had Nick Chubb and Sony Michel in my backfield, well, guess what I'm doing 40 times a damn game? I'm going to hand them the ball. All right, so I think this thing gets a little bit overblown. I also think Georgia went through a very, very similar anti-recruiting motive or anti-recruiting slogan on the recruiting trail at the defensive line position. Y'all don't remember this because recency bias is a real thing, but there was a time from John Atkins until I think Jordan Davis where Georgia did not have, not a first rounder, they did not have a defensive lineman drafted for 10 NFL drafts. A decade, Georgia didn't have a drafted defensive lineman. And then all of a sudden they got 7 of them. And guess what? It happened over and over and over again on the trail. When Trey Scott would go recruit a 5-star defensive lineman that was deciding between Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, Alabama would be feeding it into his ear. They do not put guys in the league. They haven't for a decade. Why would you be the difference? And then all of a sudden Trey breaks that mold. And this fall, this December, I think he has a good opportunity to perhaps sign the best defensive line class he's ever signed. Okay, so these things have to be broken over time, and it really, really only takes one. If it were me, I would have just asked Jeremiah Smith last class, name your price, buddy. I think you're guaranteed to be a top 5 pick. That's how I feel about your evaluation. Name your price. We'll give you whatever you want. We'll get you in here. We'll pump you out into the league in 3 years. You'll be a top 10 pick. And then guess what? We don't have to go on everyone's room and say, hey, maybe you could be the next Ladd McConkey. I don't know if that's a selling point, but maybe you could be the next Jeremiah Smith. That is a selling point because, again, we don't even have to address the NIL. I can address it this way. Since 2012 or since 2015, I think it was, Alabama's had 11 first-round draft picks at the wide receiver position. Georgia's had 1, A.J. Green. That's it. We don't have to go any deeper. I can pay you twice as much. We're closer to home. Playing time here. Offensive system here. We don't even have to do that. All we have to do is look at the facts that other people use against you, whether or not you believe them to be 100% true. They are indeed facts, and 17-year-olds might absorb them as facts on the recruiting trail. So I don't think that was the difference here. I think the difference here was maybe FSU got the last call. Maybe FSU just did a great job this past weekend, but he told us this morning they were neck and neck, all 3. This was literally this morning of decision. I'm going to Florida State. We'll see. That's the way it felt like. But to answer the question, I think it's a combination of things used against you on the recruiting trail, most notably NFL draft success at the position.
Do you think it also has some sort of factor in that? We know Georgia's talked about how they don't get in these, quote, bidding wars, but they've also placed a heavy emphasis on line of scrimmage play, like interior. So, I mean, you're probably not going to be in the mix for a lot of these other high marquee wide receivers.
I mean, there ain't no doubt. There is no doubt. And I've talked to sources about this, and they're like, look, we don't hide it. We pay ball out. That's what we do. We start with the ball and we work outwards. Okay, that means offensive line, quarterback. defensive line, linebackers, corners. Start close to that line of scrimmage. That's where Georgia will go out and they'll do some of the negotiating. They'll do some of the, so-and-so's giving you this. Maybe we bump up just a little bit. We're not going to match, but maybe we'll bump up just a little bit. But no, I don't. There's a lot of, did CJ Wiley see what happened with Keon Coleman? And maybe that did. I just think Norvell's a damn good recruiter. And I think that's okay to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a frustrating point for Georgia fans because, I mean, if you look back since 2021, there's been like 4 other wide receivers that fit this CJ Wiley mold of top 150 recruit, one of the top players at his position. It's Mike Matthews, it's Nycar, it's Isaiah Bond, and it's Colsey at Notre Dame. Deion Colsey. You were in the mix for some of those.
Academy's own Deion Colsey. 15 minutes from Georgia. However, I don't know if Georgia wanted Deion Colsey, like truly wanted Deion Colsey. And I think we see why.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, they were in. Like, they tried to get in late on Mike Matthews. This is why the whole, it was a bag. Guys, y'all tried to put a bag in front of Mike Matthews last fall. Y'all tried. It didn't work. So, like, this whole, so-and-so a bag, so-and-so a thing. It's selective. Y'all choose every program nowadays, except for maybe like 3. I think Tennessee pays out of price range at almost every position because they can, and that's earned through Spire Sports. It's everything to do with that fan base wanting to win at an extremely high rate, willing to do so with their credit cards. There's no doubt about that. I don't say that as a shot at Tennessee. And Chris Foster and the rest of the piss-wearing orange fans will show up and they'll do that. And they'll be like, Georgia homer bitching about money. No, I'm not. I'm saying that y'all do a great job, but y'all also pay out of pocket and at a higher rate than most. That's fine. You're Tennessee. You have to until you go 13-0, and then maybe you can get a price range decrease on the open market. But until then, you probably can't. USC promises a lot. We all know this. A&M, during the time of Jimbo Fisher at the first opening of NIL, they were out here throwing it crazy. All right, Ohio State does it in the portal. We know these schools, but the rest of them, they're very selective when they go out of their price range to do these things. Georgia included. Alabama included. Okay, these schools have to do this every once in a while for guys that they absolutely feel as if they must have. And I feel this way about Georgia's approach towards CJ Wiley. They have not heard. He has not heard the last from them. There's no doubt about that. So we'll have to see going into December. But yeah, the whole impact of NIL and all that good stuff, it definitely matters. But it's not the end-all, be-all for the overwhelming majority of recruits. And you don't have to believe me saying this. On3 had their On3 Elite Series. They polled every athlete out there. And it was, now granted, they know it's anonymous, but they also know they're submitting the answers. So I think there's a little bit of undeniable bias in this reporting that, the number one concern was fit and all the relationship-based stuff, and it didn't have to do with NIL on majority of these kids when polled. Do I believe that? No, I don't believe that, but I do believe the slight majority, not the overwhelming majority, is still out here prioritizing the right things in recruiting. It's not just about the money, but it tends to feel that way for a lot of people. Where are we going next? Y'all want to talk about these win totals, or do y'all want to talk about EA Sports?
Let's make sure we get these win totals in.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we don't catch Brooks leaking from his nose at any point today, if we can.
That's a tough ask.
Bro, I got a hanky out here. When was the last time men were carrying hankies? Did your grandfather carry a hanky?
Yes.
My grandfather stopped about 10 years ago.
My grandpa
just out of nowhere stopped carrying one.
He still carries one.
Okay. Kind of a nasty concept. No?
Disgusting. I don't know what.
Yeah. Anyways, EA Sports, give it to me.
Do you want EA Sports numbers or do you want ours?
I want to open up the general discussion of we'll read theirs or just talk about theirs and then give our own 10.
Okay, so we're doing the environment or the tough
and I want to talk about it this way. Look, and you hit the nail on the head before we went on air today. I'm kind of tired of it already. I am so tired of every single time a little inkling, a little news nugget comes out about this video game, everybody up in arms. I love AYS, and I was going to sub take this right now, but I'm going to give it to you. Blake over there at AYS, I think you do great shit. I really do. But today you tweeted out that the most egregious take in college football sports today is that LSU's team or stadium wasn't ranked number 1 on EA Sports' toughest place to play. Buddy, there are worse things in this world right now than a video game content creator ranking the top 10 environments to play. Also, by the way, if you're playing at Georgia Tech in this video game and you're down 7, you don't think you're going to have your routes all messed up? You don't think all of the little features are going to be exactly the same? You think they're going to dial that down based off the ranking of that home field advantage? I highly doubt it.
Supposedly they are.
Supposedly they are.
I would imagine it's like there's some special abilities that you get as a road team, and it's harder to get those abilities when you're the road team.
Line up and play
But
ball.
again, my whole thing with this is like, it's going to come out, everybody's going to play it, everybody's going to love it.
Facts.
That's it. Just enjoy it. Just have fun.
And like I told you before the show, we're going to do all this bitching, moaning, and complaining all to play this game for like 10 months, and then the next one's going to come out, and we're going to forget about it. So, like, people all up in arms about it. But I felt it was a good idea to rank our top 10, even though we haven't been everywhere in the country. Also, by the way, love that one. Someone hopped in my mentions and was like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He hasn't been to all these universities and all these campuses. And I'm like, no. That just stops me from having an opinion, I guess.
That'd be an expensive hobby.
It would be an expensive hobby to just travel college football campuses.
Yeah.
For home games.
I feel like you'd have to travel to them multiple times.
And
Yeah. You'd have to go see like night games, home games, big time matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get the peak of that stadium.
Multiple, yeah.
I think they should have just asked Kirk Herbstreit. You know?
Yeah.
That's a fair one.
Because like even Pate's been doing this for like 3 years. He ain't been everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He ain't been everywhere. It's hard to say that you've been everywhere.
For sure.
All right, rank them.
So we'll give EAs first.
Just real quick, run through EAs.
Kyle Field, or I'll just give you the teams. Texas A&M, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, Georgia, Penn State, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Florida State, Florida. So that's the top 10 from 1 to 10.
The chat's doing the 63-3 thing over and over and over and over again.
So who's your number 1 then?
I also meant to talk about this with CJ Wiley.
Oh.
Never mind. We'll get to it in a little hour. My top 10?
Yeah.
10-1. Here we go. FSU at 10.
Okay.
Wisconsin at 9. I put Tennessee inside the top 10 just because I've been there and it is like that.
Yeah.
That Jalen Wright touchdown this year was
Very loud.
insane. So yeah, there's that. I actually got to be on the sidelines. Wasn't supposed to be. One of those, you know what? I'm gonna mess around.
Was that before or after your bathroom break?
Come on, bro. This was the touchdown was after. But every once in a while I'll do a I ain't supposed to be out here, but I'm gonna be out here and play dumb until someone tells me I ain't supposed to be out here.
Nothing wrong with that.
Kind of thing. I got midway through the first, and they're like, "Hey, you got to get going." I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna be out. Don't worry about it." But no, I put Tennessee at 8, Ohio State at 7, just because you got 100,000 seat stadium.
Yeah, that's fair.
It must be loud, kind of thing. I do think Ohio State suffers from the fans are too far from the field.
Yeah.
Like the stadium in itself and the shoe is a little bit too far from the field itself, and spreads out. Whereas like LSU, you stand at the 50 and you feel like the top deck's on top of you. So that's probably why it feels a little bit more intimidating there. I got the Swamp at number 6, just because television wise, I don't think there's a louder stadium. Now, I know SEC and CBS and all these years, they've kind of tweaked the audio on this, the fan audio, but it is loud as shit at the Swamp every time I watch it on television. Penn State number 5, but only in the whiteout. I got Bryant Denny at number 4 and Sanford at number 3 for very similar reasons. Like, Bryant Denny has a very we've been good for a long time. We're just here because we've been coming here type of deal. Now, we'll see if that vibe feels a little bit different now into Kalen DeBoer, which I think based off spring game attendance, it will. I think the last spring game with Nick Saban there was like 20,000 people during the game or during the scrimmage. and there was like 75,000 people there. I put them at 4 just because it's been really hard to beat that team there for a long, long time because they've been really good. I don't think they're going to stop being good all of a sudden. They might not be really, really good, but they're not going to stop being good and hard to beat at home. I got Georgia at number 3. I understand why Georgia fans wanted themselves at 1 because they do have the longest active home winning streak.
Right.
However, it's a byproduct of Kirby Smart.
Yes.
I think it's 100% a byproduct of Kirby Smart, no different than Alabama's at number 4 because that is a byproduct of Nick Saban's greatness. So it's really hard to beat Georgia at home. But guess what? It's really hard to beat Georgia anywhere right now. So I would agree there with them having them. I think they were 5th on that EA Sports ranking. I'm good with that. I got Kyle Field number 2 and Death Valley at number 1. I understand LSU fans getting a little angry. I don't because it's a damn video game. I do because when I did this list, it was a clear-cut one, and then I had to figure out the rest. Mm-hmm. Because it's just there ain't a stadium in college football that gets more lore about. It's hard to play there than Death Valley.
Every time you look through schedule, it's like, ooh, that's a night game in Death Valley.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're in trouble.
Like I might as well just put that as an L almost.
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting that you and me had very similar. I had FSU at 10, A&M at 9, Texas at 8, Ohio State at 7, Tennessee 6, Penn State 5, Bama 4, Georgia 3. I had Auburn at 2. I think Jordan Hare is just one of those I mean, we've seen it time and time again. It's one of the weirdest environments I've ever seen.
It's one of the coolest environments. It's cool. So unique.
It's almost weird because the atmosphere of it is like something weird is happening right now.
Auburn?
Yeah. So then I have obviously LSU at number 1. So
I guess I went somewhat different directions than you guys.
Also, I want to stop right quick because we've all been there. Is there a more beautiful campus in the SEC than the Auburn?
It is very pretty.
It is really pretty and flat.
It's insanely new as well.
Yeah. That's the one thing
they've spent so much money on that campus. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Cam Newton. They've spent so much money on that campus
for real.
And didn't put it into Jordan Hare.
No,
the whole campus.
It's just the whole campus got new.
It was crazy. Really very appealing to walk around.
It also might be the $50,000 out-of-state tuition. Just going to throw that out there. It might have a little bit to do with that.
They definitely rake it in there.
All right, I went Virginia Tech 10, Oregon number 9, Florida number 8, Georgia 7, Penn State number 6, Alabama number 5, Tennessee number 4, Auburn number 3, Ohio State number 2, and LSU number 1.
Virginia Tech has the best entrance in college football.
That's why I put them at 10.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like environments and like, you know, every time you want to talk about like toughest environments in college football, like toughest places to play, there's always caveats. Like I put Ohio State because you can pack that sucker full and that's good for you because you have that advantage for yourself. You can put as many people as you want in there more than anybody else. That's an advantage for you and that's why I have them so high. Virginia Tech, you get to have this awesome entrance and that's special to you and that's why it's unique and that's why I think it's one of the top 10 best.
I agree.
I'm trying to think who's got the longest streak for most active sellouts. Holy shit. In 2019, Nebraska had a 57-year streak.
57 years?
57 years of consecutive sellouts. Wow.
What else is there to do in Nebraska, though?
Shuck corn.
Omaha.
Invest some money. A lot of capital investments out there.
Yeah, but you can't do that on a Saturday.
Go see Rosenblatt, but they blew that up. Ooh, Jello shots. That's what you can do.
You can do those at the game.
Yeah. Nah, ain't shit to do in Nebraska, I guess.
No.
Except go watch a
Isn't it when they have a game in Nebraska, like the stadium becomes like the 3rd largest county in the state?
Yes.
Lincoln. Might take a trip out there. Just cause, you know?
They play someone in the SEC.
Go buddy up with Matt Rule and be like, hey, man, I like how you jog 110s before the game. I like how you break a sweat before you go put your game outfit on. That's nice. I ain't got much else for you, Matt.
I was going to say, that's the nicest compliment you can give them.
I mean, turn not winning programs into slightly winning programs. Temple and Baylor, and we'll see what happens in Nebraska this year. I think that's a good compliment. Let's give him that. All right. You got your list left?
I just
gave
did it.
Hell yeah. Dude, it's one of them days. No, like normally I always do this. Normally there's 8 show sheet notes or 8 pages of show sheets or show notes. This is it. This is it today. Also dealing just down bad. This team with most wins during the college football era. It says reaction in the notes. Are you going to give this to me?
Yeah,
or are you going to make me guess? Let's do it that way.
Okay. Guess the top 5 then.
Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, and LSU.
You had 4 out of the 5 right in the wrong order. Alabama's number 1, Clemson's number 2, Ohio State's number 3, Georgia 4, Oklahoma is 5.
Lincoln Riley's won a playoff game?
It's just
Playoff-
wins.
Oh, just wins?
During the playoff era.
Oh, total wins during the playoff era.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense then.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State shortly outside that list.
Penn State is not. Penn State's like in the top. Penn State's tied with Iowa.
Wow.
Notre Dame got 6. Michigan got 7. Notre Dame and Michigan are tied with 95. Wisconsin has 90. Oregon has 90. LSU has 90. Oklahoma State 89. Iowa 88.
Wisconsin did that with mostly a out of retirement head coach as an athletic director that came down out of the box, didn't they? That's crazy.
That's like the Monty Ball era and all that.
Whose logo is that to the right of Oregon?
To the right of Oregon is... Oh, God, is that UCF? It is UCF.
I thought it was Purdue, and I was like, ain't no way the Boilermakers are doing it like that.
UCF 2017 national champions. Ahead of USC. Ahead of USC, Florida, Texas A&M, so kind of an interesting.
Who's the most shocking in that list?
Kansas State's on this list with 76. Kansas State is 4 ahead of Tennessee.
Shout out to Bill Snyder and Buddy from North Dakota State.
That's right. Mississippi State has more than Tennessee.
Leipold? No, that's the Kansas coach.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's Buddy from North Dakota State's name?
I
Can't think of it.
You know, Centel and I got into this discussion the other day. He's like, no way you can know everything about every team like you do about Georgia. And I was like, I could fuck around, try. But Buddy from North Dakota State keeps getting me, man. He keeps getting me. You looking it up now? It's such a name I know every time.
No, that's not it.
It popped up Bill Snyder, didn't it?
Yeah.
Legendary coach Bill Snyder. Bill Snyder.
He's still alive?
Chris Kleiman.
Chris Kleiman.
Ah.
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
I think so. I think he's still out here kicking it. Bill Snyder, I did an interview, one of my best interviews ever. We don't do a lot of them, but when I first started podcasting, I was always interviewing. I did an interview with Dalton Reisner, was a second-round draft pick out of Kansas State, was a 3-year all Big 12 tackle. Started 4 years at Kansas State, interviewed him, and we just wanted to chop it up about Bill Snyder because, I mean, how often do you get to talk to somebody that played for that guy? Bill Snyder was the first head coach that was like, hey, no hats in the building. If I see you with a hat in the building, I'm taking it.
Ooh.
And every coach I know of now does that. Not every coach, but a lot of them do. Hey, no hats in the building. Just like a little stupid little like form of discipline. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I see these in really great programs left and right. Well, I thought it was kind of, during my playing days, I thought it was stupid shit. Like, oh, does it really matter if I'm wearing a hat? Get out of here. That kind of thing. But now I get it. Now it makes sense. It is a little bit about discipline, doing the right thing at all the times, even when you don't want to do them. So yeah, shout out Bill Snyder.
I guess.
Why are my own tweets being sent to me?
I don't know. But yeah, that was
Got your cell phone alerts?
No, this is a coach sending me my own tweet with no context, just the tweet.
He's trying to remind you that you said that.
I guess, maybe. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. We'll find out. Where do y'all want to go next?
Win totals?
We might as well go to these win
Yeah,
totals.
dude, we're way behind.
We're running out of
win
time.
totals. Give them to me. Where do we want to start? We want to go worst to first?
Yeah, we'll go lowest.
We'll build that anticipation.
Lowest you can imagine is Vanderbilt with 2.5 wins. 2.5 wins is kind of something, honestly, I would take the over on that. Now, they only won 2 games last year, but it's not a tough schedule.
They last year, didn't they lose the opener to Hawaii last year, or did they beat Hawaii?
They beat Hawaii last year.
Yeah, but they almost lost that game. They were up big, and Hawaii
that's
pushed
what it
late.
was.
They play Virginia Tech, Alcorn State, Georgia State, and Ball State this year. If you can't get at least 3 wins out of that,
Yeah, the Ball State, Alcorn State, and Georgia State. Like,
now they
you
might
should get 3.
They might not win an SEC game. They're at Missouri versus Bama, at Kentucky versus Texas, at Auburn, South Carolina. They could win that game. At LSU versus Tennessee to close the season. They might not win an SEC game, but you should be able to win 3 games out of those 4.
I'll stamp them at 3.
I'd go.
Yeah, they're going to beat Georgia State. I love Dale McGee, but not year one.
Nah.
You're not popping a Power 5 win year one, I don't think. And you said Virginia, Alcorn State, and what was the other
Virginia
one?
Tech, Alcorn State, Ball State.
Not getting Virginia Tech. Yeah, the three games you have to win are the non-Power 5 games, but that's them every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've always said, what is the kind of like requirement? What is the expectation? Your expectation is to win your out-of-conference games at Vanderbilt. Your non-Power 5 games. And if you lose one of those, you're on the hot seat.
Pretty much.
That's as low of a bar as we can give it. I'm going
lost
over.
one last
I think they win 3 games.
Yeah, I think they get to 3.
For Christ's sakes, dude. If you can't,
Please get to 3.
Yeah.
if you can't beat Alcorn State.
Nashville might not be for you, buddy.
For real. Nashville might be too much for you.
Yeah.
You know? Might be at Aldean's.
The mafia getting a
Yeah,
hold of it.
Mafia got you. That's what it was. What a deep callback that half our audience is like, what are they talking about?
Mafia.
The Mafia.
Second
In
lowest.
Nashville?
Yeah. Second lowest win total. Mississippi State with 4.5.
Oh, I got to check schedule.
Now I don't have Mississippi State's schedule in front of me, but that seems kind of
Seems
fair.
like they have some tough games on that schedule.
4.5 seems like a bunch. That means they have to win an SEC game to break that over. Eastern Kentucky, dub. Arizona State, probably a dub.
Should be.
Probably a dub. Toledo, probably a dub. So there's 3. Florida,
toss up.
all right. Texas, nope. Georgia, nope. Texas A&M, probably not. Arkansas,
Maybe.
Could.
all right. I'm going over already.
Yeah. I'll go with the over.
There's a UMass in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm giving 4 non-conference wins to them. All right, and I'm gonna give them one of Arkansas, Florida, or Arkansas and Florida. Give me that.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking a program like Mississippi State, who's at the very beginning of a new coaching resume, versus Arkansas, dead in the water, Florida, dead in the water. Like, I would take Mississippi State as the edge over those 2.
Third lowest, tied with Mississippi State, are the Florida Gators at 4.5 wins. That's embarrassing, but it also.
Jeez.
But I mean, look at the schedule.
Oh, I know the schedule's as brutal as they come. But dude, you got to find 5 wins.
Yeah.
If Billy Napier doesn't win 5, first of all, I think Billy Napier's fired this year no matter what, unless he goes 8-4.
Right.
Maybe 7-5. If he goes 7-5 in that schedule, maybe they're optimistic enough about DJ Lagway coming out in the next year and winning, 9-10 games. But that's brutal.
There's really one game on this.
You guarantee a win. It's like USF.
There's only one game on the schedule. It's Miami, Samford, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, UCF, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State.
Huh.
I would go under on that.
I was doing the. I can't sit here and say they're gonna win 4 games.
That's hard to. But I mean,
It's so brutal.
it is.
I mean, even you're like
Is that the hardest schedule ever?
It's one of them. I mean,
Dude, I don't even know if an NCAA football video game would let you make something like that.
No.
With ultimate
They'd cap
buys?
you out, bro.
like UCF isn't a gimme. It's not a gimme. Gus Malzahn can have a team's number.
Yeah.
KJ Jefferson alone might be able to beat Florida.
Let's call it under.
I'm going under.
Let's call it under.
4-8.
Yeah, I've been talking about Lane for this job. I talked to a pretty big face at another network while I was out in LA. And no, it's not Pate. He mentioned Eli Drinkwitz leaving Mizzou to take that Florida job.
I mean, you'd have to imagine Florida would.
And I don't know. Who's more apropos to leave their university they're at now? Drink leaving Mizzou for Florida, or Kiffin leaving Ole Miss for Florida?
Drake just feels like a perfect fit in Missouri. Like, he just feels like you belong there. Like, you look like the face of the Missouri
Camo
Tigers.
shorts, Crocs, you fit.
You fit there.
You also feel like Lane has more of a propensity to leave. So.
Yeah. Well, we have a track record of that. If you're Florida, which one do you want?
I'd take Lane. Get some excitement in that program, man.
Get someone who's proven that they can win 10 games multiple times.
Yeah, but this is also a university that, I mean, they ratted on their own coach with the last AD. You know what I mean? They're very pretentious is the wrong word, but Florida doesn't do things like every other SEC program, or at least historically that I know of. They're kind of uppity, if you will, in that athletic department. And Kiffin might rub some feathers the wrong way.
Start winning games there, and that uppityness will go away.
That's true.
Urban Meyer had a team full of criminals winning natties there, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't care."
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Urban Meyer had people rolling around, throwing up, and dying in the middle of workouts.
Yeah. Next, with also 4.5 wins, is the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yeah, give me the under. I don't even got to look.
Yeah, I'm going to say under.
I think you're cooked.
Do you not want to look at it?
I don't think I need to, man. Come on, give it to me.
So they go.
Is it that bad? It's not a good schedule?
UAPB Golden Lions at Oklahoma State, UAB at Auburn versus A&M, Tennessee, LSU at Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Texas, Louisiana Tech, Missouri.
All right, so I gave them the 3 non-Power 5 games, and I gave them Mississippi State.
Bro, are they playing like a church league football team week 1?
I can't find a 5th win there.
UAPB?
Yeah.
That's University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Y'all don't know your HBCUs, and it shows. Come on, boys.
Sorry.
Just these guys. Nah, my offensive line coach in college played at UAPB. That's the only reason I know.
Nice.
He was a white guy, so it really stuck out.
Oh, good.
A real nerdy, quiet white guy, too.
Really?
Yeah. Real nerdy, quiet.
Did you ask him how he ended up there?
Huh?
How did he end up there?
I think he played for a long time. Problem was, I think he sustained way too many concussions. Because, I mean, he was kind of like a little goofy and slow when I played for him. So I'm wondering what's going on there now.
Man. All right, next on the list is South Carolina with 5.5 wins.
Under. Yeah, tough schedule.
Yeah. No Georgia, but they got Bama.
They don't have Georgia or Tennessee, but they have Oklahoma, Texas, A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama's on that, Kentucky's on there, LSU's on there. It's a tough draw, man.
I'm trying to pull it up with the
boy. They was trying to make sure Beamer gets cooked this year.
Absolutely, and you got to end the year with Clemson.
You know, he was getting a bunch of momentum. I think the most positive momentum Shane Beamer's had was an 8-5 season, and then followed that up with a really, really decent, maybe above average for South Carolina recruiting class. They finished inside the top 18 after that 8-5 year. And now, I mean, he's loading them up. Will you look up South Carolina's commit list for 2025? I bet it's north of 15 already. But find me the high-ranking 4-star committing to South Carolina right now, other than they got the one corner who, by the way, we'll see if he ends up there by the end of the class.
They have 16.
16 commits. And how many of those guys are ranked inside the top 250? Because I know you're looking at 24/7. Find me how many are inside the top 250. 2?
Dude, there's only 2 players, or there's 1 player on this entire commitment list right now that has a national ranking.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's a bunch of NAs.
I'm telling you, we've been watching it. We've been following it because this is what we do. We try to pay attention to as much as we can everywhere else. And I'm watching these commitments pop, and I'm like, either nobody is up there covering the Carolinas from a 24/7 or an On3 or Rivals, which is not the case because we've had 5-stars come out of that state every year. Okay, it seems like. However, buddy, he's popping guys that I ain't never heard of out of nowhere in order to just kind of get the ball rolling. And you got to credit the guy for at least trying, but I'm hammering the under here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one as well.
Yeah, they've got 4 non-Power 5 conference games, and then other than that, it's like maybe you can beat Vanderbilt, but I don't see 6 wins on that schedule. Moving on to Kentucky at 6.5 wins, first team that's predicted to go 500. Kentucky's schedule is...
I was about to say, I'm going to need this.
Southern Miss, South Carolina, Georgia, Ohio, Bobcats.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, Murray State, Texas, Louisville.
All right. I gave them Auburn. I gave them, there was one other SEC game early.
South Carolina.
I gave them South Carolina. I gave them Vanderbilt.
That's 3. Then you've got
and
Southern
then all
Miss,
non-Power 5s.
Southern Miss and Murray State. So there's 5.
There's 7 in there. You can find 7.
They could beat Louisville.
Yeah. Well, you ain't even got to. Win your 4 Power 5s, beat Vanderbilt, beat Mississippi State, or beat Mississippi State, and then
They don't play Mississippi State.
I'm about to sneeze. Oh,
It's off. Look, it's on us,
dude.
I was just laughing. Man.
I'll take the over on that one. I think that they can find. I think they can find enough wins to hit the.
I'm going to go under on that. Actually,
They can't all go under, Curb.
I haven't said they all go under. I put the first 3 for over. I'll go over on that just because Mark Stoops is the king of 7-5, no matter what.
Hell yeah.
Amen.
Mountain Mark.
No matter whether or not they're a top 15
Hey,
team.
they're a football school now too.
Hey, Rude's got a great point here in the chat. A bunch of people watching right now. Not enough likes, not enough thumbs up buttons over there on YouTube. So make sure you're hitting that. Make sure you're flying those hearts over on Twitter as well. Make sure you're supporting the show, however, wherever you can. I also want to make it known, if you miss any portion of tonight's broadcast, it can be made available, however, wherever you get your podcast. Who's up next?
Moving on to Oklahoma at 7-5. They start the season with Temple, Houston, Tulane, Tennessee, and at Auburn. They should be 4-1 come week 6. Then it's a bye week versus Texas, South Carolina, at Ole Miss, Maine Black Bears, at Missouri, Bama, and at LSU to close the season.
I got them at 6. I'll say under.
I think they go over.
I'd go
It's 7.5, so they have to win 8 games.
Yeah.
Wow, they're 7-5. Last time I looked at it, I thought they were 7-5.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. They would have to exceed expectations for them to go 8-4, and I don't think you're going to have many. I don't think you're going to have any team that's new to a conference really exceed expectations like you're expecting them to. Whether that be Texas, Oregon, Washington, like these new teams, I don't think they're going to thrive in their conferences year one.
Yeah, I'll say under for Oklahoma.
Moving on.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it gets to the point where I'm giving you Temple, I'm giving you Houston, I'm giving you Tulane, I'm giving you one of Tennessee and Auburn. I think that's fair. So that's 4. I don't think you're beating Texas this year. I'll give you South Carolina. That's 5.
They have done it 3 years in a row.
I know, but I don't think you're beating Ole Miss this year. I'll give you Maine. That's 6. I don't think you're beating Missouri this year. I don't think you're beating Alabama this year, and I don't think you're beating LSU.
It's fair.
Telling you, man.
And even if you do beat LSU, that's 7.
Yep.
We still got to find another win in that list to go over. I'd pound you
under.
Shout out to the extension though.
Yep. Next is Auburn with 7-5 as well. Alabama, A&M, California, New Mexico, Arkansas. They should start 4-0. Then it's Oklahoma, Georgia, at Missouri, at Kentucky, Vanderbilt, ULM, Texas A&M, and at Bama. That's
You said
It's
7.5?
doable. It's doable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
7.5's the line. They got to win 8 to go.
that's 7-5 written all
I'd
over.
buy them getting 7. I don't know if I see them getting 8.
I think 7 would be a good year. 8 would be, my God, can we sign Hugh Freeze to a lifetime contract?
Absolutely.
You think
Based on
they
the way
can?
they
Do you
feel.
think they can get Bama this year?
That game is always a coin toss for me.
It's a coin toss, and
I have
there's no
no
Nick
idea
Saban
how it's
this
ever
year.
going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That Auburn Oklahoma game will let us know real quick what Oklahoma's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you struggle with Oklahoma, or excuse me, if you struggle, well, you're probably going to struggle because it's Jordan Hare. They might start 5-0. What if College Game Day's in Athens?
For Auburn, Georgia.
For Auburn, Georgia, October 5th. Because why shouldn't it be?
Yeah.
If both those teams are 5-0,
Deep South's oldest rivalry, like.
that would be crazy. It's got a flex opportunity too. Yeah, buddy.
Tasty.
I'm gonna go over. I think they win 8 games.
Wow.
Wow. All right.
I'll
Next,
stick at 7.
I'll go with 7 as well. Next is
All they got to
A&M.
do is grab A&M, right? I'm gonna give them 8. A&M, ULM, Vandy. Give me Kentucky, Arkansas, New Mexico, Cal, Alabama, A&M. That's 8. That's all they got to do.
All they got to do.
That's all they got to
All
do.
they got to do.
That's it.
Easy as pie. Easy as that.
Easy as pie. Is that a phrase? Is
I
that a
meant to
saying?
say easy as that, but I went pie.
I did
Next
too.
is A&M at 8.5.
A&M at 8.5.
Off rip, I'll go under. Year 1 and Mike Elko. Start the season against Notre Dame. McNeese at Florida, Bowling Green. Okay, wait a minute. This schedule's kind of cheese. Notre Dame, McNeese, Florida, Bowling Green, Arkansas, Missouri at Mississippi State, LSU at South Carolina, New Mexico State at all. Dude, they have
Give me the over.
They have an easy schedule.
Give me the over.
Shout out
on that
Mike Elko, about to give some people some false hope. a little false hope. You about to pull a Shane Beamer year 1? Is that what we're going to see?
one. It might be that.
I mean, if you upset Notre Dame at Kyle Field,
Yeah.
you're
Doable.
pretty much going 5-0 because it's McNeese, Florida, Bowling Green, Arkansas. Then it gets difficult. You have to play Missouri, but that's at Kyle Field as well. Then you're at Mississippi State.
Dub.
LSU at Kyle Field, at South Carolina, New Mexico, at Auburn.
Over.
Yeah.
And you host Texas as well. That's
false hope.
Very easy schedule. That's a 8-4 or 9-3 schedule.
Yeah, I'm with you. Over.
Next is Bama. Let me find Bama's schedule.
Oh, here we go. Smooth. Perk up, baby. You get Alabama schedule too?
Yeah, so they got to win 10 games because it's
9.5.
9.5 is the line.
Bet.
All right, here we go. Western Kentucky, USF at Wisconsin. You should start 3-0. Georgia at Vanderbilt, South Carolina at Tennessee, Missouri at LSU, Mercer at Oklahoma, Auburn.
I got 9.
Who are your 3 losses there?
Georgia. I gave them a loss against LSU, I think.
That's fair.
And there was one other on there.
Missouri.
No.
Tennessee.
One of the 2. They'll go 1-2 against us.
They in a 4-week stretch.
They get Mizzou at home.
In a 4-week stretch, they play at Tennessee, Missouri, bye week at LSU.
I talked about the 5 last night that I thought were really, really questionable. Here they are right here. UGA at Tennessee, Missouri, at LSU, at OU. I think going into this year, right now, I don't know how those games shake out for Alabama. And that could easily end you up in a 9-3 season. And that's going 2-3 in those 5 games. So it's a tough year 1 for Kalen DeBoer.
Next is Tennessee with 9.5 as well.
Are we all going under? We can't all go under on.
I'm going under on it. It's Kalen DeBoer's first year. You're winning 10 games in your first year, and the SEC is extremely hard to do.
It's true.
As good of a coach as Kalen DeBoer is, it's going to take time for them to hit the ground. They're not going to hit the ground running. I don't think they are.
Fair.
Tennessee is next. You've got Chattanooga versus NC State, which is actually an interesting game. Kent State at Oklahoma, at Arkansas, Florida, Bama, Kentucky, Mississippi State, at Georgia, UTEP, Vanderbilt. You got to find 10 wins in that.
I'll go look it up. What do you say, J-Mo?
I think they get to 10 wins this year. I think that Tennessee is going to be 10-2 by the end of the regular season. They're not going to be in the conference championship game, but they're going to be on the bubble of, do we put them in the college football playoff or do we not? They're going to be one of these bubble teams, I think, this year. And I think there are 10 wins on that schedule. I continue to believe that Tennessee is going to be Alabama. They get that game at home. I mean, there's going to be a lot of juice around that one.
Yep.
I think that their 2 losses are probably going to be to Oklahoma and Georgia. Those are the 2 games where I'm like, I think those are your toughest. Those are going to be your toughest games, and I would say those 2, it's your 2 big road games too. So I think that they go 10-2.
I think they go 1-2 versus a combination of Oklahoma, Alabama, and Georgia, and I don't know which one's the win, but I think they get one of those teams.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be favored in every other football game by multiple touchdowns, I would imagine.
You think Kentucky's going to be that much of a rollover for them?
I think they'll be 7.5-point favorites in that football game.
Probably.
So maybe not double digits, but it's going to feel like that. I could see that being a 10-point win, 14-point win. Of all the SEC schools, now they're all doing a bunch of turnover, right? They're all changing out their roster. They're all adding transfer portal guys in, but I feel like Kentucky leaned on the portal far more than they usually do this fall.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they got some really good pieces.
Very good pieces.
A couple of them from Georgia. I think they stole a kid from Ohio State. They got some Power 5 retreads in there, but, we'll see. I think it's also maybe a lean back in your chair, kick your feet up kind of year for Stoopy, because didn't he just get an extension after he flirted with A&M? Didn't he come back and get an extension from Kentucky?
Yes.
Yeah, a little smooth move from Stoopsy there. Okay, so might be hey, we a made man out here. I'm gonna enjoy what there is to enjoy in Lexington, which
Kroger Field, baby.
I guess there is a lot to enjoy in Lexington.
Next is Ole Miss with 9.5 wins, and I think that this should be over. You got Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky at South Carolina. Off rip, you're 6-0. Then it gets difficult. At LSU, at Oklahoma, at Arkansas, Georgia, at Florida, Mississippi State.
I wonder how many you shouldn't have lost that game losses Lane Kiffin's had on his slate in the last, as a head coach. Because I bet there's a couple of them,
Like you should have lost it. Like
No, like you had no business losing that game, and you did. But I mean, Ole Miss in most of their big time games, they're underdogs. So I don't know if that statement really holds true. But I drastically worry about the home road splits. I hammered this last offseason or last fall, and I'll probably talk about it a good bit this fall. But they are so diametrically opposed in terms of who they are at home versus who they are on the road offensively, and that really worries me for them in general. But what are their toughest road games this year?
I said this last night. Basically, to go 9-3 this year, you have to go 0-3 against LSU at LSU, Oklahoma, in Oxford, Georgia. Those are your 3 toughest games. Your toughest road environment's LSU. Other than that, it's at Wake Forest, at South Carolina, at Arkansas, at Florida. Florida could be a dangerous spot, but you should beat that team. And by the time you get to November 23rd, Florida should be a shell of what it is. Like, that fan base isn't going to be very rowdy.
I don't know, man. Florida showed up last year against South Carolina out of nowhere.
South Carolina.
I know who we're talking about, but you know, they didn't just lay over all the time for Billy. Sometimes they played hard last year.
Yeah. But again, basically the sentiment is they have to go 0-3 against Oklahoma, Georgia, and LSU for them to not be a 10-win team, and I don't see that.
I said 9 last night, but I'll take the over.
I'm going over.
I'll take the over.
I'm fine with it. The schedule's as easy as it can get for a roster that probably just put $20 million into their retention.
If Missouri's next, you ain't got to look it up, buddy. It's going to be over for me. It better be over. It is going to be over.
Missouri is 9.5, and I would take the over.
Missouri got the easiest schedule in the SEC?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
other than A&M, Missouri's the easiest contender. Missouri's the contender with the easiest schedule in the SEC.
I wonder if Billy looks at Missouri and Texas A&M's schedule and scratches his head and wonders if we're in the same conference. You know what I mean? It's like, are they secretly in the Big 12 and we don't know? Like, what is going on here? It's at Alabama, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the toughest one on the slate for Mizzou this year. And they return everybody but their 2 tackles, and they got a transfer from Oklahoma in there to replace one of them.
They lost their safety.
They lost Cody Schrader.
You know all about the safety. Yeah. That's Jay Will scouting.
My dog.
Yeah, scouting cherry popping right there. I'm good on the over here. What's up next?
Next up is LSU with 9.5 wins. They play USC, Nicholls, South Carolina, UCLA, South Alabama, at Ole Miss, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Bama, Florida, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma.
Florida, Vanderbilt.
Stuck at like 9.
Yeah, I gave him 9.
Yeah.
I might go under here.
I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go under.
I think the USC game is going to be like the determining factor as to whether or not Brian Kelly starts getting some eyebrows raised at him.
Dude, I think Brian Kelly ain't going nowhere anytime soon.
I don't think he's going anywhere, but I think people are going to, if you lose that game off rip, people are going to go, all right, wait a minute. You start the season 0-1 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a great look.
LSU fans certainly are not going to be happy.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think he's in any danger of losing his job after this. I think he can go 8-4 and still be fine. But I think you're going to start getting some askance looks, shall I say.
All right, up next. We're all going under?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Next is Georgia, 10.5. So you got to have 11 wins.
Over.
So they got to go 2. They got to win 2 out of 3 to go over?
You got to go 2-1 against Ole Miss, Texas, Bama.
Yeah, they got to win 2 out of 3.
You got to go 3-1 against Ole Miss, Texas, Bama, Clemson.
You threw Clemson in the mix, huh?
It's a top 20 matchup.
It's top 15.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I've continued to believe that. I see 11-1.
Yeah.
Majority of the time when I look at Georgia's schedule.
They haven't lost their regular season game in 3 years. To say that they're going to lose 2 in one season, as tough as this schedule is, like, I just don't think you should bet against Kirby Smart like that.
I wouldn't either.
Final is Texas. Texas is also at 10.5.
I can't remember what Texas's schedule really looks like.
Are you finna read it to you? I would imagine. They get Michigan. They get Georgia. Come on.
Colorado State at Michigan, UTSA, ULM, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Georgia at Vanderbilt, Florida at Arkansas, Kentucky at A&M.
Yeah.
I gave them 11.
Yep, 11.
Not a very
the only game I look at that, I'm like, they're probably not going to be favored is Georgia. If they get them at home.
Yeah.
Shit, they might be 12-0. Honest to God, they might be.
Yeah.
I think they have the best bet looking at it, saying that team's going to be 12-0.
I would agree with that.
All right. There are SEC win totals. Random college football game you think about, real quick.
What's yours? Because I've got mine.
I got a couple of them. Randomly, when I thought about this, BYU Coastal popped up. Remember that game?
Oh, the Zach Wilson game?
Grayson McCall, Zach Wilson, both teams to find out that who's going to make the playoff.
When they were body slamming
and both
Zach
of them
Wilson.
were trash. Neither of them made the playoff that year. I immediately, for some reason, my mind came to that. It's
That's
like
a good
random football game. Jacksonville State versus Ole Miss or Florida State.
Yeah.
The random dub out of Jacksonville State. Don't know why the one at Ole Miss is remembering or is bring back memories to me, but it does. And then 2015 Shorter versus Valdosta State. Think about it constantly.
That's fair.
Cody. Forgot your last name, Cody. I'll never forget you.
Forgot your last name, but
I'll never forgive you, Cody, for dropping a touchdown slant, a little 3-yard slant. We never throw the football. We're a triple option football team. We got Valdosta State on the damn ropes at home on a Thursday night, and you drop a game-winning touchdown pass to hit you in your damn face. Garbage. I think about it all the time.
Good Lord.
He wasn't garbage, even though he was the reason for one of the worst memories of my football career. I was on SportsCenter's not top 10 because of Cody. I was on SportsCenter's not top 10 because of Cody.
Wait, what? Like, because the drop? Or
No, dead ass. It was against Kennesaw State, my 21st birthday. I'm the short snapper, right, on field goal. And the first time we kicked a field goal, I couldn't hear dick. It was the first home game at Kennesaw State ever. I could not hear anything. We were going into the student section. We're playing at a soccer stadium, so they might as well be in the end zone, these kids, these students. They are screaming their ever-loving heads off, okay? And I can't hear anything. The first time, I just snap it because I think I hear him say something, and then we call a timeout to get ready to kick the game-winning field goal in the fourth quarter. And I walk over to Cody, and I say, hey, Cody, once you give me your hand, I'm going to pick my head up and I'm going to snap the ball because I can't hear your cadence, okay? So understand, when you put your hand up, I'm snapping the ball. I'm going to pick my head up, one count, and we're gone. And he's like, okay, I got you. All right. I put my head between my legs. He gives me the hand. I'll pick my head up. I snap the football. It hits him right in his knee where they're holding the football. Right in the knee. Bounces off. Kennesaw State picks it up, takes it back to the house. Touchdown. End of game. Shorter loses. Should have beat Kennesaw State. We had a 37-yard field goal to win it, and they take it back to the house. The entire team thinks I had a bad snap. The entire team. When I watch it through my legs, hit him in the definition of the perfect spot that they teach you to do. Snap it to his leg. Snap it to his leg. Snap it to his leg.
Damn.
Tough break for your boy.
Sorry to hear that, man.
I got so belligerently hammered that night. It was ridiculous.
Jeez.
21st birthday, most embarrassing moment on a football field ever. Yeah, it was a nightmare occurrence in Buckhead that night.
Did it at least feel kind of cool you were on SportsCenter?
No way.
Dude.
Second appearance for the Austin brothers on SportsCenter's not top 10.
Ooh.
My brother was on it not because of him, because of the pitcher that he was playing with. They tried to intentionally walk a kid against Ole Miss, and the dude just lobbed a lollipop right over the plate. The kid hit one 420 to end the game. So, yeah, the Austin brothers have been on SportsCenter's not top 10 way too often.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Local hour?
Local hour.
Local hour. We'll see you on about 45 seconds.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog?
What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, what is up? We're back here for a local hour. We have a whole nother hour coming to you guys here, specifically Georgia related. Let's talk about CJ Wiley again here in the local hour. Big miss, not over, right? I think that was our consensus viewpoint during the national hour, and I will hold firm on that one. When I talked to Georgia this morning, they were like, we feel really good, but we don't know. Oh, Landon Duckworth just decommitted from South Carolina. That that was their prized possession. We were just talking about that in the National Hour. That was their prized possession in 2026. He was an extremely highly rated quarterback, and now he is back on the open market. I talked about my biggest pet peeve. Stop doing the money bag stuff. It's gross. Every time y'all do it, it makes me a little bit angry when I see 17-year-old kids make the biggest decision of their life, and then people on Twitter are like, must have got a bag. Nah, he really liked Florida State this past weekend. That's okay. What does this mean for Georgia? Well, first and foremost, this, and I talked about it the other night, this was the must-have recruit. Okay, this was the must-have recruit, and it still remains that way because of all of the things Georgia's having to overcome on the recruiting trail at this position. Okay, they have to fight so many different nomenclatures or so many different misrepresentations of their program while also having to deal with the facts like we talked about in the National Hour. They haven't had a first-round draft pick since 2011. And yeah, George Pickens would have been that had he not squirted a guy with a water bottle or thrown Georgia Tech's starting NFL corner into a brick wall. Had all of those things not happened, George Pickens might have been a first-round pick. Oh, and by the way, tore his ACL.
Yeah.
If those things don't happen, George is probably a top 32 pick, and all this stuff doesn't really matter. We don't really talk about these things, but there's also the Dominic Blaylock. There's also the Demetrius Robinson, right? The 5 stars that ended up at Georgia that didn't finish their career at Georgia and didn't really blossom, whether it be a variety of different things. Robertson came to Georgia with a torn up knee from Cal. Dominic Blaylock popped his in an SEC championship game after basically being on pace to have 700 yards as a true freshman. Like, that dude popped immediately, and then it popped, and now it's like, dang, Dominic Blaylock would have been really good. It's just unfortunate scenario there. They got to have this one, and they will continue to recruit him as if they have to have this one, while also knowing that Travis Smith Jr. is really good too. Okay, and I've been talking about CJ both on social media and both here as if he is this can't miss product, and he is. He is. You have to sign him. But there's also another 6'3", 205-pound receiver who I don't think's quite in the same tier as CJ, but is still really damn good right there at Westlake and Travis Smith Jr. And I think he likes Georgia a lot, despite the fact that Tennessee's kind of gotten in the mix here as of late with him. But, you know, I don't imagine Georgia misses twice on guys that they feel like they have to have in state. And that's exactly what CJ and Travis have both felt like for about 6 or 7 months now.
Yeah, I guess a good feeling would be that you definitely don't think that Georgia misses out on both of those two prospects, but you have to have one of those, at least one of the two. You have to get them into this class to really make you feel like, okay, that was a solid first year under Coley as a wide receivers coach. Felt like we had a successful, but you also have the opportunity to just smash it out of the water and hit an absolute home run.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how CJ Wiley, the recruitment itself would kind of not necessarily change the narrative for good, but it would be the first step in doing so, because you get highly talented recruits in the room. They can then turn into potential first-round draft picks or 1,000-yard receivers, and you can kind of change this narrative that Georgia doesn't recruit it, or Georgia doesn't develop at the wide receiver position, which we know might not necessarily be true, but there isn't really data to back that up. So it's a big miss, but like you said, it's not over.
And I'll reiterate this. I talked about it in the National Hour. I don't think C.J. Wiley has heard the final push from Georgia. I think they, and like smart people do, I think they did the same thing with K.J. Bolden last year. I don't think they unleashed the full capabilities of Georgia recruiting on K.J. until like mid-November. Okay, and then it happened quickly, right? It happened really quickly right before National Signing Day for him. I would imagine something similar happens here. I also, from a Georgia beat reporter standpoint, I thought it was necessary to ask him, are you 100% locked in? I think we should go ahead and play this interview now for the audience, because I don't know how many people heard all of this. So let's play it for him now. All right, I'm here with C.J. Wiley. Just made his commitment announcement at Florida State. When did you know, C.J., that it was going to be Florida State?
Really today, for real. Discussed with my parents a little bit, and just got it done.
Now, your mom and dad were telling us that they didn't know at all this was 100% your decision, and they found out when we found out. What went into that decision to kind of make it all, your decision on your own?
Really, I just did my little checklist, just went down the box to see what school fits me the best and stuff. So, yes, sir.
I got you.
Was there something at FSU visit that triggered it for you? Can you think of the moment where you thought you were really comfortable with Florida State?
I mean, I've been there numerous times. I just have a feeling like every time I go to FSU, it just feels like home. Coach Novell, he greets me well. And he like really just sets the tone for real. Like fresh off the visit, like just coming in and stuff. So yeah.
The Florida State staff know.
The receiver. So basically, like they got like a receiver called 9. It's like a receiver that moves in slot and outside. So yes, sir.
Did the Florida State staff know? Did they learn about this live and everyone else?
Yes, sir.
You told them? Did you?
No, I wanted to surprise everybody. So yes, sir.
You got any reaction from the staff yet?
Yes, sir. I just called Coach Norvell.
What did he say?
Oh, he just excited for me, everything. He just really, see, I shocked the world.
How close was this? Can you give us a degree of difficulty? Like, how hard was it for you to maybe put Georgia and FSU and LSU all together?
Oh, it was pretty hard. I had to really think about it, make a good choice and a good decision, so yeah.
Do you feel like you're kind of done with the recruitment process? Is Florida State all the way?
No, my recruitment's still going to be open. Other schools can still like recruit me and stuff, but yes, sir, I'm with the Noles right now.
Gotcha.
I think you plan on enrolling early.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people thought Georgia was kind of the spot that was leading for you. What kind of transpired in the last couple of weeks with Georgia in particular?
I mean, all the schools are really head-to-head for real. Like I said, I had to go down, just check my checklist, see what school fits me the best. But all the schools are really even.
Do you anticipate, returning to Georgia? Have they reached out leading up to the decision?
Oh, yes, sir. They did reach out. I'll probably still go to Georgia since it's up the road. Still just check on them and everything. So, yes, sir.
What all was on that checklist? My bad.
Really just development, relationship with the coaching staff, players, ask some of the players how the coaches work, places I can get to the league, good education, everything, and win some awards.
So last year we saw KJ Bolden choose Florida State. Georgia kept recruiting. I think Kirby's big about I'm not going to stop recruiting you just because you're committed. Will you be receptive to a school like that continuing to recruit you down the line, or how open do you think your recruitment's going to be?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's still open. Like I said, I'm just committed to the Seminoles right now. I didn't sign any papers. I'm just committed to Seminoles right now.
Do you think you surprised your teammates? Because when you announced it, it stayed a little quiet in here for a second.
Yeah, I think they was going to do think I was going to do a little hat switch, but nah, I'm with the Noles.
How are you going to talk to Ethan, man? What are you going to say to Ethan? Has Ethan even looked at you yet?
Oh, yeah, he talked to me. He said congrats, all love, so yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. First and foremost, doing a group interview with Jeremy Johnson, Ben Wolk, and Jeff Santel, there ain't a question that's supposed to be asked that ain't going to get asked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we got everything out of him in 3 minutes that we needed to. And there's a lot of people in the chat talking about he doesn't look very excited. That's him. That kid could catch a game-winning touchdown pass in the state championship game, hand the ball to the ref. He's just not high strung. He's not. And court diva, the word diva gets thrown around with wide receivers a lot. He's not that. He is very, very low key all the time. And even so, introvert's the word I think about when I think about him. He is not outgoing by any stretch of the means. I don't think he really wanted to have that hoopla. He just has to because he's CJ Wiley and he's deciding between Florida State, Georgia, and LSU. So there's that. But also the part about, I'm a Seminole today, but I ain't signed no papers. That was kind of like, oh, okay. My recruitment's still wide open is what he said. So I guess my thought process on this is if you didn't know this morning and you made the decision today, obviously you can't postpone the commitment announcement. Everybody's coming into town.
Yeah.
You probably feel like you just have to make a decision anyways. I think everyone still has work to do here. I 100%. I know LSU was not only taken back, LSU was a little bit frustrated today based off the information I've gotten from them. Georgia was obviously frustrated today, but with the mindset of, well, it's okay because he hadn't necessarily heard everything we got. He hasn't gotten the final push from us. And this next super sub from 910 Cooper, one of our diehards in here, says, free sub, question, in your opinion, would it be better for Georgia to land Gibson and either Wiley and Smith or Gibson, Terry, and Griffin with neither wideout? For Georgia, and this is the segment we got going next, which is if high school receivers aren't going to work out, if you're not going to recruit them at the level that you do every other position, then why not just be solely portal based at this position? Because let's be honest, the last two classes, they kind of have been. I think last year it was Jacoby White, Nitro Tuggle. That was it. and then it was 4 transfer guys. And honestly, we've talked about the ball out strategy. We've talked about the salary acquisition strategy at the University of Georgia, or distribution strategy, I should say, at the University of Georgia, in the terms of we're a line of scrimmage based football program. We'll pay for a highly talented quarterback once he gets here. But this whole idea of going out and buying a Jeremiah Smith out of high school, or at least feeling like we have to, that's not something we're going to do. So to answer your question, 910 Cooper, Georgia, for the history of Georgia under Kirby Smart, would love to sign Isaiah Gibson, Justice Terry, and Elijah Griffin, which, by the way, I think they have a great opportunity to do so, and I don't think it's going to hinder them from signing Travis Smith Jr., if that's what ends up happening here. But bottom line, they have to take an X out of high school, I believe, because they're going to lose a bunch in the wide receiver room this year anyways, right? Dom Lovett's gone. Ron Thomas is going to be gone. I would imagine Dylan Bell's an NFL draft pick this year.
Colby Young.
Yeah, they're
like these guys are going to be out of your room. You got to get bodies in there nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the whole point of why it kind of feels like that. It's kind of felt like that for the last few years, which is why I think fans have put such a heavy emphasis on wide receiver recruiting, because it seems like you get to the end of every single season, it's like our room just feels like it's missing pieces, and now we have to go out and get more pieces. And this year, Georgia did a good job of getting more pieces from the transfer portal, where you felt like you fully completed that room. But like you're saying, it doesn't matter, because in 6 months from now or 7 months from now, you're going to be right back at the starting
depleted.
Yeah, the room you have right now is not going to be anything. It's going to be pretty much non-existent compared to where it's going to be next year. Like, your contributors that you'll have this year are not going to be on the team next year, I would have to imagine.
Yeah. And maybe it ain't that bad to do it this way. Now, here's what they got to start doing. Dominic Lovett can't come from Missouri having 800 yards and then have 400.
Yeah.
That can't happen, right? Colby Young can't go from a 100-yard game every once in a while at Miami to being the same exact thing at Georgia. You get what I'm saying? Like, there has to be, we definitely can't have a decrease in performance, but we definitely need to start having some increases in performance when these kids get here, right? From everything I've heard from the intel department, it doesn't sound like London Humphreys is going to light it up this fall. Sounds like that was a couple-year projection type thing. It sounded like Ron Thomas had some catching up to do when he first got here from Mississippi State last year. These are okay until you have to have these guys play and play well, which is where we're at now. Right now, we're at a point at Georgia where these 5 or 6 or 7 transfer portal guys, they better hit this year, or else Georgia's not. I'm not going to say they're going to be in trouble, but it's going to be a lot of scattering everywhere, trying to depend on Carson to be the greatest decision maker ever, instead of just saying, hey, we got 2 dudes over there, or we got a dude over there and a dude over there. You got a 50-50 coin flip. One of them's going to win by 3 yards. All right, like that makes football a whole hell of a lot easier on the college football ranks.
Well, not just that, but you also have to be able to change the narrative now.
Yeah.
Like, if you pull in all these transfers and all these guys from the transfer portal, and they statistically get worse, or they don't develop any, or there's no like progression that you can see, it's not going to be a good look for Georgia. Like you said, if Dom Lovett's best year of his career is at Missouri, it's a bad look. Same for Rara Thomas, same for Colby Young. So you can't really have that.
And last year, you could afford those gaps with like Dominic Lovett somewhat having a down year in production, and then Rara Thomas taking some time, because you had Rojak, who you could just always tote out there and be like, we can rely on him. Ladd McConkey, when he's healthy, like, that's going to be one of our main guys. And also, we have Brock Bowers and a bunch of other tight ends that we do not have any problem throwing the ball to. This year, you don't have Ladd, you don't have Brock Bowers, you don't have Rojak. It's got to be these guys, because I mean, as much as you want to probably rely on Dylan Bell, it's got to be this conglomerate of all these receivers, like, just punching it in and mailing it in.
And by the way, based off G-Day, look like Dom Lovett's kind of going to play like he did in Missouri a couple of years ago. I think he had a 185 in the spring game.
Yeah, big day.
And I'm sure had a lot of opportunities, of course, but you know, that's a different Dominic Lovett than we saw last year. Last year, I felt Dom had not necessarily lost weight, but he looked smaller in a Georgia uniform than he did in a Missouri uniform. I don't know what that is. He definitely didn't look as shifty after the catch. I thought early on in the year you could see Georgia obviously designing yak opportunities for him, whether it be tunnels, bubbles, whatever, get the ball in his hands. And I just didn't see electricity when he got the ball in his hands. So maybe there was something going on. Maybe there's just some getting acclimated to the system, whatever it was. He looked like a different football player in the spring than he did in the fall of last year. So that's good news. But they're certainly going to have to probably continue to recruit the portal pretty hard at this position.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And by the way, I mean, Bo Walker's a great product and a great prospect, but they ain't exactly hitting home runs at the running back position on the trail either. You know what I mean? Like, when was the last time Georgia signed a 5-star running back? DeAndre Swift?
Well,
Zamir, he was a 5-star.
Who?
Zamir.
Yeah, it was right after that. So we're talking about
4, right?
Yeah, we're talking about 2017, 2018.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nate Frazier. He
Not a 5-star.
wasn't consensus, but I think some people were.
One of those
I think that's-
late commitment 5-star pushes.
I think the running back position is also harder and harder to get 5 because there's only 2 or 3 in the class now.
That's a great point, Kirby. It's a great point. They know they don't really rank those guys 5 stars anymore.
Yeah,
You're
that is
100%
fair.
there. He was a 4-star, number 2 running back, 71 in the country.
Yes, I mean you're signing the number 2 running back. Like,
Not bad.
if the number 1 running back's the only 5-star in the class, like you can't be upset that you're not getting multiple 5-stars.
Plus,
Yeah.
that room right now, and I know we're looking at it just for this next class. Like that room, you're going to lose Etienne. Everybody else gonna
Everybody
be
else
there next
coming
year.
back.
Everybody going to be there next year, along with
I
all
mean-
these freshmen. Like you could probably be okay with that this next recruiting class,
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you look at it, Rob is going to be a junior next year. Like he's going to be insane. Nate Frazier's going to have a year under his belt. I'm forgetting other names, but like there's a lot to be looked forward.
Branson.
Yeah,
Chauncey Bowens.
Chauncey Bowens.
Yeah, Chauncey Bowens.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to look forward to in this running back room. There's a lot of young talent, whereas I think the wide receiver room is more like you've got guys that are in the latter stages of their college careers, whereas the running back room is you've got guys that are just getting started, plus an elite guy in Trevor Etienne on top of all that.
I think they'll be okay. But I also think they reached into the portal for a reason. I think the Trevor Etienne transfer was a direct reflection of the Justice Haynes miss.
Yeah. And I think you also
Not just the Justice Haynes. You also, we'll get to that in a second. Not just Justice Haynes. It was Reuben Owens too. It was Cedric Baxter. It was old buddy that went to A&M.
oh yeah, I know you're talking about.
Was committed to Louisville.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
It was all of these guys.
Right.
It was a bunch of dudes that Georgia normally it's like, hey, Georgia should Dale McGee should land that guy. And now you go look at this class and it's like Ousmane Kromah. Now all of a sudden this Brian Lewis guy getting in the mix out of American Heritage, and it's like I had someone tell me the other day, maybe we miss on both those guys. Maybe we go back into the portal at the running back position next year. I'm like, that's just what they're using that as. You know what I mean? Some people are using the portal as a way to enhance their roster on an annual basis. Some of them are looking at the portal as a way to just fill a hole when needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine, based off the recruiting, you're gonna have some holes at wide receiver and running back
For sure.
So, why am I keep getting messages in the middle of the show? Is there that
You're a
much news
popular
going
guy.
on?
Is it cool stuff happening?
No, this is a new D1 approved any staff member to provide technical and tactical instruction to athletes. This is the analysts can now coach practice as if they weren't. Buddy, I'm just gonna go and let you know. If you think all these analysts ain't on the field during practice, you're freaking high. All of you. Or ignorant, one or the other.
I could do wonders for media availability though. Because
You would think, right?
Because now that you're not breaking any rules, you can probably have more people. I don't think it's going to help us. I don't think Kirby's going to.
You think we're still gonna get the 3 media availabilities at practice all year?
Probably.
No, excuse me. We got 2 during the spring. We got 1 during camp last fall, and the bowl games forced them to give us 2.
Yep.
So there was 5 media availabilities all year last year. And when we told that to Florida State beat reporters, because they showed up at Georgia's open practice and they didn't get the vibe. The vibe was obviously tense. The vibe is we don't get to do this a lot, so get the hell out of the way, please, for the love of God. All right, so they didn't understand. When we told them this is the 3rd time we've seen these guys all year outside of a game situation, they were like, what? And we'll say, yeah, buddy, y'all get to stand at practice all day at Florida State. Y'all get to go inside the building up at Tennessee. Y'all get to hang out with Ryan Day up there in Columbus. Buddy, it is lockdown Fort Knox at the University of Georgia. Ain't shit going on over there. If you want information, you got to be a guy in this industry and in this beat. It is totally different here. And no, this rule change, I guarantee you, is not going to all of a sudden open up doors for Georgia media to be available. That's not how this is working.
No, I don't think so.
Unfortunately. But I've always said, because this soundbite might get back to somebody, you got a media member bitching about your accent. I'd run the same thing. I'd do it the same way. You wouldn't hear from me unless contract required me to be in front of a microphone. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Where should we go next?
We can kind of talk about Stanford being ranked 5th.
No. I want to do this. Was this the most important target on the board for Georgia? I would say yes, followed closely by Elijah Griffin. Because they feel so strongly about Elijah. I have been on the record saying I probably would take Justice over Elijah. And that gets eyebrows raised from both you right now and the building. When I say that to people in the building, they're like, oh, look at the hot take artist coming in here. And I'm like, nah, dude, I think Justice is a better football player right now. I think Elijah might have a higher ceiling because he's bigger and longer, but Justice is a freak.
Well, we talked about yesterday. It's more Georgia seems to be taking more of the upside and the ceiling, necessarily buying into the ceiling, because you can't coach a frame, you can't coach genetics, you can't coach things such as that. You can coach footwork, body weight, other things to kind of.
I also am not privy to all of the information that they are, obviously. The reason they think Elijah Griffin is the next Jalen Carter, per my sourcing, is because they've seen it in camp. The kid comes up there, has since he was 15, and just freaking owns grown men at 15 years old. And they're like, oh my God, we got another one coming up. We're going to have another one of these Jalen Carter types out here. And now it's gotten competitive with Elijah Griffin. But the Elijah Griffin and CJ Wiley, I put Elijah Griffin and CJ Wiley in the same boat right now. The boat of you ain't even heard it yet. Commit where you want, recruit where you want, go take visits where you want. Georgia has not even come close to pushing for you yet. And we'll see what it looks like in December. We'll see what it looks like in October. And that was what I was going to get to on CJ today. Look, I'm sure we still got some hangover from the Florida folk, or from Florida State folks still in here today. Buddy, they lost 40% of their roster. Florida State did 40%. And now I can listen to every Florida State guy in the world tell me that they replaced them with as good or better football players. And I would say maybe, but we still got some questions. We still got questions to answer. They've still got to go out and do it, right? Florida State still has to prove that they have a quarterback that CJ Wiley wants to play with, right? Because I don't know if DJU is going to win that job. Matter of fact, I've heard that he might not even win it. That they might have just wasted whatever it cost to get him there. All right, because they like the other two guys that they have in the room. So we still got to find proof of concept year 2 of, like I know you won 10 games in 2022, and I know you were 13-0 in 2023, but that roster's gone. So what does it look like now? So they still have to get past this, in my opinion, proof of concept, because if they pop up at 8-4 this year, I'm not saying they are. I think if I look at the schedule and if I look at the SEC, ACC, I think they're in the ACC championship game this year. I'm there. Yes. But if they are an 8-4 football team, if they are a 9-3 football team, while Georgia's out here playing on national television every single night, things are going to look different in this season is what I'm trying to get at.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those visits in the fall, I mean, while they are to go experience a fun football environment and go to cool games, they hold some weight to it. It's hard not to when you're in those types of environments.
Facts.
And these teams are heavily recruiting you, and you're at a night game in Sanford when you're undefeated playing against Ole Miss and you beat them by 40. Those types of things, I mean, they definitely hold some water.
Facts.
Do you think that now that Florida State has earned the commitment from him, they're going to somewhat let their guard down a little bit, or do you think they're still going to recruit him full steam ahead?
I think what happened to Norvell specifically in 2 different instances, Travis Hunter and KJ Bolden, he will not take his foot off the gas. He can't afford to.
No.
You know what I mean? He probably has nightmares about Travis Smith or about Travis Hunter. He probably has nightmares about KJ Bolden.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't yet, he will this fall when KJ Bolden is playing on one of the better defensive units in the country as a freshman.
True.
So No, I don't think he's allowed to take his foot off the gas. And I would imagine CJ gets the very same sentiment from Georgia when they talk to him. Hey, ain't shit changed from us. We're right here in this till the very end until you put your name on the dotted line. So yeah, Sanford, top 5 ranked stadium by EA Sports.
Yep,
I'm with it.
I don't have a problem with it. I think you would want to see them in the top 3, maybe, just because of the record that they have. They've lost 1 game since 2016. So it's like they have truly the definition of home field advantage.
Loudest game you've ever been to in Sanford?
Oh, it's got to be 2022 Tennessee.
Same.
See, I wasn't there.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah.
I definitely remember that. I almost want to talk about that right now because I'm still a little angry about it.
I wasn't working with us then. So.
No, you weren't. The loudest I've ever been inside Stanford Stadium was the night game against Notre Dame.
That was a fun one.
I wasn't at that one.
I think it was the night they debuted the lights too.
It was.
It was nuts. Goosies. Not going to get them anymore. You know why?
Why?
Do you know why?
Not going to get what?
You're not going to get the Goosies at a Georgia football game anymore. Do you know why?
Oh, because they stick you in the end zone now?
They not only do they stick you in the end zone, you know what else they did?
It's enclosed.
It's enclosed.
Oh.
I'm in a glass press box from now on, unless I get a photo credential. I think the Auburn games are the worst environment in the history to cover a college football game in now. Except for Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz is awful. It's quiet. It's cold as shit in that press box room. And it's just all you hear is people typing on a keyboard. And I'm watching one of the biggest college football games of the year right here in front of me, and I can't hear dick. Can't hear nothing. But the dude next to me typing on his little keyboard away. I hate that. I'm at a football game. Let me absorb the entire football game. Yeah. I'm only getting half of it. I might as well watch it on TV. I'm always seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that was like
hearing what I need to hear.
That was like my only complaint about the Auburn game when we went this last year. And I was glad that we got to go on the field pregame because you still got to kind of experience it. But every time the crowd got loud, it was like so muffled. It was like I'm not truly getting like this close game. Auburn's on the ropes with Georgia. Like they might have said that.
I had photo creds that game, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
Well, the last 2 minutes of the game, I actually got to go down on the field because we were going to do post-game pressers. Yeah. I walked down for the last Georgia drive where Brock Bowers went in and scored that touchdown, and it was insane. Like, you walked out from the press box, and you're like, oh, my God, it's so loud out here right now. So it is like that. And Neyland was like that, too. Like, that glass enclosure for Neyland, as loud as that stadium was, as loud as it was for the Jalen Wright touchdown, you couldn't really experience that, but you could look around and be like, holy shit.
You're also basically in the nosebleeds at Neyland. It's crazy.
Very high up.
You're like on top of the roof.
Going back to this Georgia discussion, though, for Sanford, I think that college football fans will find out like just how elite and just how great Sanford Stadium is next year, because so often over the last few years it's been, okay, here's the one game on the schedule where we know Georgia's like might have a night game. It's going to be the home game of the year. Better show up for that one because it's all we got this year. Next year you got 3 of them. You have 3 massive home games. Time to see if Georgia's going to show up for all 3, provide the same environment for all 3, and do it for a full season.
I also think that Georgia suffers from the what's that?
Neutral site game?
Not even that. Just the fact that they've had to kind of go against this stereotype against them that their Sanford Stadium is a quiet environment, and that was kind of developed through the Mark Richt era, where they didn't always play super well at home when they needed to. The environment wasn't crazy, and the fact that the last 6 or 7 years they haven't really had a marquee home game. It's either been neutral site or it's been on the road. Like the biggest game they had, obviously Tennessee was massive, and Sanford Stadium showed out because of that. But other than that, like 2019 Notre Dame, like
Ole Miss last year,
you only get, and that game was as great as that environment was. It wasn't really a close game by the half.
Arkansas 22 was loud as shit.
It was very loud.
At a noon kick.
When Sanford Stadium needs to,
that was nuts.
When Sanford Stadium absolutely needs to, it gets loud. But the problem is they don't have as many opportunities, in my opinion. I think.
Yeah.
And even that Arkansas game, like it was loud for the first 20 minutes, and then I was like, oh wow, Georgia's up 3 scores. Let's go downtown.
That's the one thing about these stadium rankings. Someone tweeted out today, it was like, how is Alabama, what are they, 2? 3? How's Alabama 3? No, they were 2, weren't they? It was Texas A&M, Alabama, LSU. That's how it was.
I can tell you
that EA Sports ranking. Either way, how is Alabama ranked so high when their damn head coach for 5 years had to put in like requirements in their student section where if you leave before the fourth quarter, you don't get your tickets next week? That's how bad it was in Alabama.
I think that's also like the metrics they used were kind of interesting. Was a combination of wins and prestige of program. Like Alabama's obviously going to be one of the higher prestiges of programs. Bless you, by the way.
Dang. That's sabotage.
Fuck you.
That's sabotage.
I hate you.
Really? Because I took a sneeze from you?
We talked about last night how sneeze is one of my favorite things in the world. And if you tell me, bless you, before I sneeze, it's over with.
Did he not come downstairs today when we were doing shows? Like, bro, I've sneezed like 50 times.
Oh, it was so bad earlier today. He told me to quit saying bless you. He's
like,
yeah. My man's sitting here in the studio. We're sitting here working all day long. And I'm achoo. And I'm like, bro, after like the 12th time, I was like, just quit saying bless you. It's going to be like this all day.
And you're telling me you enjoy that.
I do. I do love a good sneeze.
Especially when you have
one sneeze, yes, but when you're constantly having sneezing fits,
when you have a stuffed up nose, though, it like provides some like small relief, like just some quick relief of like getting closer.
When you got one of them, concrete in the nostrils, I need a good.
Like maybe this is the one that's just gonna go everywhere, and I'm good.
No, I'm good, man.
I need a good.
Scared of a little sneeze?
I'm not scared. I just don't enjoy it. What were we talking about before? I don't think Georgia gets the opportunities that these are. We were talking about Bama.
Yeah.
I think that Bama kind of gets this benefit of the doubt from the prestige of the program, and it's Alabama. They never lose at home. There's kind of this, and Georgia hasn't gotten that yet. I don't know why. They've been doing it for 5 years, but
I'm gonna address something in the chat right now. I'm more this is from Henry Dion. Definitely mispronounced that last name. Dion. I like that. Henry Dion says, I'm more concerned that we aren't getting any defensive backs in the class than anything else. Where is the smoke from T-Rob and Dante? I think it's not really bad. I think it's a down DB class, to be honest with you. Especially in state. In state, it's down. Florida feels down this year. And that's kind of where you normally go for all your DBs. You're either in Florida at IMG, or you're in the state, or maybe you go get Julian Humphrey every once in a while from Texas. But this year, it is a lot of West Coast bias, which means Dante Williams better step up. We talked about that a couple nights ago. So there's that.
So you think this would just be like a certain class where they don't necessarily take as many?
I mean, and to be honest, maybe they don't take as many. They're probably going to take the bodies because they take the bodies. But like, also, you've really over-recruited some of these rooms.
Yeah.
Like I told somebody this the other day. They were worried about, David Sanders, Nick Brooks, all these different names. And I'm like, guys, what nobody wants to talk about is the fact that Georgia basically signed 5 NFL dudes last year in the offensive line room. Like, they're not letting that out. They don't want everybody to know that because they're worried about it. But I'm going to let you know. They got dudes in 2024. They got absolute monsters on their offensive line. They could punt on this entire class, and they'd be fine. They're not gonna. They're going to sign a really, really good class, but they could punt on the entire class. I feel that way about corner. Now, I know Julian Humphrey and Daniel Harris will probably be out of that place in 18 months, maybe 24 months, however long it lasts, but they're still really, really deep at those positions.
But that's what I was going to ask, though, is like, is there really a high chance that Dalen Everett, Humphreys, and Harris all end up leaving after this season? So then you still have Ellis Robinson and whoever else stays, and
you still got a problem where you're sitting here worried about guys hitting the portal because they're not getting enough playing time as a fan base. That's what y'all do. Oh, well, did we mess something up? So we're going to lose so and so if we do such and such. And it's like, you can't have both. You can't sign everybody and keep everybody and play everybody. You can't just do all of them. So
my question is not, since they're maybe necessarily not going to put so much attention towards the defensive back room just because the class is down as a whole, do they divert attention elsewhere, or is it kind of just we'll still take bodies, but necessarily we're not as high on this class as we are others?
Yeah, I don't think nationally, I don't think anyone's as high on the DB class as they have been in years past.
Do they divert attention anywhere, though?
Nah, I mean, like I said, I think you take the bodies because you take the bodies. One thing I've noticed about Kirby over the years is, and I didn't even notice it, he tells us he's going to take a full class. He's going to take he's going to take 5 offensive linemen. He's going to take 4 receivers. He might take 2 quarterbacks, but he's definitely going to take at least 1. He might take 2 running backs, but he's definitely going to take 1. He's going to take 4 or 5 defensive linemen. He's going to take 2 or 3 linebackers, probably 3. He's going to take 5 DBs. Like, he is going to take an entire roster worth of commits every single class. That's their MO at Georgia.
Gotcha. It's a good MO to have. Fill out your roster.
Sorry, I'm sitting here taking.
Keep the depth.
Sitting here trying to handle some news.
Anything important? Or?
Businessman.
Nah, it's not that important.
Gotcha.
Not as important as a leaky nostril. Do we have anything else? These 27 former Bulldogs being predicted on starting NFL rosters is pretty crazy.
Yeah, there were a couple surprises. I listed them all out. First off, Kamari Lassiter was listed as a potential starter or a projected starter for the Texans this year, and then also Javon Bullard also listed as a projected starter.
We kind of touched on Kamari Lassiter. We had been balling out in spring practice and things such as that, but Javon Bullard as a starter is good for him, dude.
Yeah, he's going to make a lot of tackles this year.
There's just a bunch of dogs still kicking it around, man. Like David Andrews going to start again this year. Isaiah Wynn projected to start for the Miami Dolphins at left guard this year. I mean, Ben Cleveland obviously is still starting. Leonard Floyd going to start for the San Francisco 49ers this year. Lorenzo Carter going to start for the Atlanta Falcons this year.
Hell yeah.
Just a bunch of dogs continuing to be viable players in the professional football league. Really good players.
A lot of those guys are real traitsy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Real traitsy.
Yeah.
Right? Like Lorenzo Carter's going to play in the league until he just wants to retire.
Yep.
It's like, oh, wait, a 6'7" pass rusher? Come on down.
Didn't he have a stint with one of the XFL leagues, and then it was like, holy crap, like Lorenzo Carter, please come back?
No.
I thought was that David Bellamy?
Davin Bellamy, and he's still in the UFL, I believe.
Yeah.
But he had
he was the first round. He was the number one overall pick in one.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that's right.
I think he'll get a chance back at the league eventually. Follower of the show. He's been on the show before.
Really?
Yeah, we watched the film together.
This is another crazy thing to think about. 4 starters for the Packers this year could be former Bulldogs.
Devontae Wyatt, Eric Stokes, Quay Walker, and Javon Bullard.
Yep.
And apparently, Stokes has had a good camp.
Yeah.
I remember there Dogs Daily.
I remember there were talks that he wasn't going to get his extension picked up, or
there was. It doesn't help that he plays opposite of Jair Alexander. Does not help at all. People pick on him left and right. It also doesn't help that he's never really been able to play the football. I think we talked about that ad nauseum coming out of college.
He's also had injury issues.
He has. He's had all of these different things, and he's still kicking it. And it sounds like I said, he's had a really good OTA.
ESPN listed him as the most impressive player for the Packers during OTAs, and they said that he is poised to earn his starting role back with the Packers this year. He's going to be that other cornerback for them.
Good for Eric Stokes.
A big year for him too. Like that's
shout out
a big
Eastside
deal.
High School.
Yeah.
Shout out Eastside High School.
A lot of Eastside High School people showing love to the article.
I think you're going to have another Eastside. What are they, the
Eagles?
I don't know.
I think they're the Eagles.
They're green. You're going to have another Eastside Eagle, I think, at the University of Georgia. Soon. Maybe not soon, whenever it happens. But I like Georgia's chances at Christian Gas, not to be so incognito there. I mean, if it's Glenn Schumann or Kentucky,
Glenn Schumann probably.
It's probably
Glenn Schumann probably get that one.
You know? So yeah, there's that.
Did you say we had a player of the day you want to look at?
Oh yeah, I want to watch this Rudlin kid. Roldan.
It's Roldan.
What's he play?
Roldan. Plays wide receiver. Went sub 4.4 at a Georgia camp this off season or this summer. Let me see if I can get you his actual measurements while I walk to the board.
I think he's listed as 6 foot 175.
That checks out.
Oh, you didn't give Brooks a chance to look at him on tape and tell you.
Well, hey, he's trying to help him out. Lob it up.
Boy, he is way out there, isn't he? Mm-hmm. Quarterback right here. Do you know who it is?
Oh, I should know who it is. God.
Got Georgia ties. Not anymore. But he does. That is Harrison Faulkner. That is Buster Faulkner's son. Playing quarterback.
God dang it.
For North Cody right here. Actually, that's not him. That's a different guy. But either way. Uh-oh.
Shifty.
Uh-oh. Ooh, that's juice. Boy, I bet some DBs get just bamboozled by this kid.
He had some totes as well.
Oh, and on top of that kid, oh my. Okay.
It's a good play.
Oh, my favorite part of this. He talks shit. Look at this. He's in this kid's grill after this touchdown. Look at this. Oh yeah, you ain't shit, bitch. Oh, yeah. I love a shit talker, man. This is Harrison Faulkner. I can tell by the body composition. That's not number 4. That's a different kid. That's a great ball. Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh. Great ball, great catch. I love the over the shoulder. See you track it with your eyes, man. That's a good eye on the ball right there. Ooh, good little press release right there at the line of scrimmage. Now we go head top my man's. That's also a really good ball right there.
Are they running a screen on the 5-yard line? Okay.
I don't know, but I ain't gonna lie to you. It ain't like North Oconee plays in a monstrous division. All right, that's Timmy trying to run down Tyler. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he ain't catching Tyler. Or is his name Logan? Landon, Tyler, Timmy, Bob, Brooks, Jonathan, Christian. We're all here. Little DB. Little DB. You been in the crib? Oh, you had to cut back? Oh, don't you dare. Don't you? He got caught. No. You can't be sub 4.4 and get caught on high school tape.
Gotta make up for it.
He ain't getting caught on that one.
All right, you know what I want to do? I want to do just for shiggles. Over there on your screen, will you start pulling up Ladd McConkey North Murray highlights? Because I want to show you what it looks like. You know what I mean? Because Ladd's tape out of high school is absurd. All right, and I'm not saying this ain't great tape. It's really, really good tape. He's obviously physically gifted. And this is the thing, man. Like, no matter what you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you look like, it is a height, weight, speed sport. Okay, it is a height, weight, speed sport. Oh, yeah, lunch pail guy.
Look at the
lunch pail guy.
Blocks.
You know what I mean? A real grinder. A real grinder right here. I love how he catches away from his body.
So fluid.
Everything's away from his body, too. Does not let it get in on him on any of these clips.
Just waiting for this.
You're good. You got to watch an ad every once in a while over on Hoodoo.
Yeah. All right.
Over on Hoodoo. All right, that's a little bit of a body catch there. He double caught that one. Are you cribbing?
It was behind him.
It was on the left shoulder. I'm with you. All right, let's watch this Ladd. Bring me this Ladd tape. Because if I remember this correctly, Ladd was so far and away the best player on the field at all times during high school. So much so that they just kind of put him everywhere. Like, this is him in defense right here. I can guarantee it. He's going to play off and then go squat on one. 5-inch vertical in pads. Now I'm going to show the juice. That's lightning. Okay?
Ladd McConkey as a DB is a sight to see.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey as a quarterback is even more of a sight to see.
I remember that he played quarterback, yeah.
Dude, this looks sped up.
Mm-hmm. It does.
You know what I mean? It looks sped up compared to the last tape.
Wow, he stayed in bounds?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, it's like all over. All 13 and a half minutes of this highlight tape is this shit right here. Whoa! Whoa! What? Sir, stop playing.
Stop.
All right, so Tennessee, shame on you. You know what I mean? This kid was dying to be a Vol. Tennessee, shame on you. Also, I think we can all agree this guy was lasered 4.39 coming out of high school. This Landon Rowland.
Whoa, that was cool.
Landon Rowland is a sub 4.4 guy. So says the performance at camp. This tape feels more explosive. Yes. We all agree. That's why I wanted to add the two together. Now, Landon Rowland's long speed might be better than Ladd's, but Ladd has a very, very unique 1% 0 to 20. Yeah. His 0 to 20 is just unfathomable in terms of how fast he is. I still think the Rowland kid's got an opportunity to run away from guys in college, but we can watch all 13 and a half minutes of this. You will not see Ladd caught at all. All right, so when I see guys getting caught on tape, I start to I start to wonder, hey, does the game speed match up with what we've put on tape? Excuse me, does the game speed on tape match what we've tested at? That would be the number one question I have there. But certainly takeable. We good?
I think so. Are you good?
I promise I'll be better by Thursday. Love you. Bye.